Very good morning, children. Welcome back to my classes. This is Manish Yadav, your English teacher. This video is beneficial for the students of class 9th. In this video, we will discuss about the summary for this chapter, The Little Girl. So without getting delayed, let us go through the story. Kezia's fears about her father. Kezia's father was a figure of fear for her. She avoided him before going to work. He would come to her. He would give her a casual kiss. But when he went, Kezia would feel a great relief. In this chapter, we would know about a fear of a daughter. She was a little girl and she was afraid of her father. She did not feel better when her father stays at home. Kezia's fear was very great, and she did not feel better during her father's presence at home. So her father was a figure of fear for that little child, and she avoided him. She did not want to be before her father. She most of the time tries to hide herself so that her father could not see her. Before going to work, he would come to her. And what was the routine of her father? He went to Kezia before going to work, before leaving from home. He kissed Kezia, but when he went from home, Kezia felt better. Kezia felt a great relief in her father's absence. How Kezia comes before father in the evening. In the evening, Kezia's father came home. Kezia would hear his loud voice calling for tea. Kezia's mother would ask Kezia to be a good girl to take off father's shoes. When she would take off his shoes, he would ask him if she had been a good girl that day. But she was terrified of him. She would shudder due to fear. She, in fact, would try to speak, but she would hesitate due to fear. For Kezia, her father was like a giant. What happens? Kezia, when her father comes at evening, what happens to Kezia? Let you know. Kezia hears her father's loud voice calling for a cup of tea. Kezia's mother asks Kezia to be a good girl and take off her father's shoes. He would ask him if she had been a good girl that day, and when she goes to her father asks him if she had been a good girl throughout the day. If she does not have, mischiefs, and she did not do anything which was not acceptable to her mom. So he expects as she had been a good girl throughout the day, but she was terrified of him, that little girl. She was terrified. She was afraid of her father, and she would shudder due to fear. She could not speak something. She, in fact, would try to speak, but she would hesitate due to fear. When she tries to speak something, she couldn't due to fear. For Kezia, her father was like a Gant. He was a personality who is just like a Gant for her. What happened on a Sunday afternoon? On a Sunday afternoon, a grandmother asked Kezia to have a nice talk with her father and mother. But Kezia always found mother reading and father snoring. So she waited for father. She continued staring at father and she waited till he awoke. When he actually awoke, he asked her not to stare. She looked like an owl. In the third paragraph of the summary, what happens on Sunday afternoon? She was suggested and asked by her grandmother to have a nice talk with her father and mother. But Kezia always found mother reading. Her mother was mostly reading out, and her father was snoring. So it was difficult for her to have a talk with them, so that she could not make a relationship, a frank relationship with her father, so that she would not be afraid anymore. So she waited for father. She continued staring at father. And she stares most of the time at her father while he was snoring. She waited till he awoke. And she was waiting till her father would be waking up. But she would hesitate to say something. When he actually awoke, he asked her not to stare. She looked like an owl. Her father suggests her that you look like an owl, so do not stare at me. Kezia makes a birthday gift for her father. One day, Kezia's mother told her that her father's birthday was next week, and she suggested to Kezia to make him a pin cushion, cushion of yellow silk. She was suggested by her grandmother to present a gift on the occasion of upcoming birthday ceremony, birthday anniversary of her father. So she was suggested to make a cushion of yellow silk. So Kezia made a pin cushion for her father, and she needed something to stuff the pin cushion. So she gathered all few sheets of fine papers and put them into it. These sheets belonged to her father. They had an important speech which he was to deliver. Okay. What happened when Kezia was suggested to present a gift to her father on his upcoming birthday anniversary? She collected so many, some sheets of papers which belonged to her father, and they had an important speech which he was to deliver. So she kept everything, okay, inside the cushion. What happened? A hue and cry in the house. That night there was a hue and cry in the house. Father's great speech for the port authority had been lost. Now rooms were searched, servants were questioned. Father went to Kezia's room. He asked her about them. Kezia did not tell a lie. She told him that she had torn those papers. What happened when she torn all the pages to keep inside the cushion? She wanted it to keep something inside the cushion to make a pin cushion. So now a hue and cry. Her father began to cry for those papers, and he was wandering and roaming everywhere in the house, in the rooms, and he was asking to the servants, if they know about those papers. Finally, father, Kezia's father went to Kezia's room and he asked her about those papers. Kezia did not tell a lie. She told everything truly. She told that she had torn those papers. Father shamans Kezia and beats her. Father Kezia asked Kezia to come to the drawing room. He was very angry. He was pacing to and fro. Kezia was greatly frightened. He asked Kezia if she had done that. She whispered. Father asked her mother to go to Kezia's room and fetch those torn papers. Meanwhile, he asked Kezia to hold out her hands and beat her on her hands. He did so to teach her not to touch anything that did not belong to her. Now, father calls Kezia and beats her. Father asks Kezia to come to the drawing room, and when she went there, uh, when she went there, she saw her father very angry, and he was pacing to and fro. Kezia was greatly frightened. Kezia was so afraid of her father, and he asked Kezia if she had done that. Her father asked Kezia that if she had done that. She whispered, Yes, father, I have done that. Father asked mother to go to Kezia's room and fetch those torn papers. Meanwhile, he asked Kezia too. Also, he asked Kezia if she knows about those papers and where she has kept it. So, hold out her hands and he, beats her on her hands. He did so to teach her a lesson that she should not touch anything that did not belong to her. So Kezia would be responsible and take care of these things. Kezia's reaction. Kezia heard this. She replied that what she did was for his birthday. Kezia was beaten on her hands. Hours later, her grandmother had wrapped Kezia in a shawl. She clung to her when she was being rocked in the rocking chair. She sobbed, What did God make fathers for? She, that little child, she was saying that what did God make fathers for? I mean, why has the God made fathers for? If father looks like that and they react like that, Kezia, that little girl was thinking that I was trying or I was about to present that gift on my father's birthday anniversary and he punished me. So she was not satisfied with the reaction of her father. So finally she says that, I mean, what, did God make fathers for? The McDonald's, Kezia's neighbor, the McDonald's lived next door to Kezia's house. And in this paragraph, we should know about the neighbor of Kezia. They had 5 children. Father played with the children, and Kezia thought that there was different fathers. And she, that little child, uh, she could see a family in her neighbor, and that father had 5 children, and he would play with them. So Kezia, she sees that there were different fathers. According to Kezia's observation, she thinks that there are different fathers in the society. My father, he punishes me and he beats me, he cries at me, but he sees that father, he plays along with his 5 children. Now, Kezia's mother and grandmother at hospital. One day, Kezia's mother fell ill. She had to be hospitalized. Kezia's mother was with her. Kezia was all alone with Alice. The cook Kezia asked Alice that would happen if she had a nightmare, but Alice asked her to sleep. She also asked her not to scream and not to wake up her poor father. One night when Kezia's mother and grandmother was, they were at a hospital and Kezia was alone, okay, along with Alice at her home. And the cook Casey asked Alice what would happen if she had a nightmare, but Alice asked her to sleep. Okay. Suddenly, Kezia cries. Okay, at her nightmare, and Alice suggested her to keep silent and do not disturb her father to wake. Kezia's nightmare, but Kezia had a nightmare. She saw a butcher with a knife and a rope. What was the reason due to Kezia cries at night? She saw a butcher in her nightmare with a knife and a rope. Okay, that is why she cries. He came near Kezia, but she could not move, and she screamed and woke up her father. Father came to her bed. He asked her what was the matter. After hearing her, he took Kezia with him. Okay. Finally, her father took Kezia along with him. Kezia's changed opinion about father. Kezia's father lay down beside her. Kezia crept close to him. He asked Kezia to rub her feet again, his leg to get warm. And Kezia felt a funny thing. She thought that father was harder than grandmother. But it was a nice hardness. Every day he had to work harder, and he got too tired to be a Mr. MacDonald, and she had torn up his writing. She's tired. Uh, Kezia told him that her head was on his heart, and she told him that he had a big heart. It was beating. So finally, she understood everything. Why does her father scold her, and she understands the responsibility and so many things which her father used to do with her. It was only to give her a lesson so that she would, perform well, and she would be sincere as well as sharper. That's it for the summary of this chapter. Keep learning.